You scream, I scream. We all scream for Night Scream.
We all scream at Night Scream.
We all scream at Night Scream. Get a haircut. Yes.
Got a haircut, you fucking
Hippie?
pussy.
What
Yeah.
are you, a quintesson?
Listen, Dad, I'm actually a Sharkticon, okay? But you wouldn't understand.
You wouldn't understand. It's not a phase. I'm a Sharkticon.
This is who I am.
Too much energy.
Is one of them a squid?
Cheetor, what have you done?
Blah, 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 blah. Beast Wars once and for all.
It's like throw her into the compactor. Well, you don't need this anymore.
Why do you always talk to yourself?
I simply have a penchant for intelligent conversation.
Yeah,
Say Calabar! No! Say Calabar! No!
No, that.
Greetings and salivations, Kryptonians and Cybertronians. Welcome to another episode of Too Much Energon, the podcast where we talk about Beast Wars shit and we talk shit about Beast Wars. I am one of your hosts, NeoCal.
And I am your other host, Christopher Siege.
And here we are. We are talking about Beast Machines, Season 1, Episode 6, Weak Component.
Yes.
Believe it came out October 23rd, 1999.
Yes.
But before we get into that,
Episode 6 of Beast Machines, Episode 56 of Too Much Energon.
that's right. I was like, what is it? Episode 125? 38?
It certainly feels that way sometimes.
Yeah.
I like that right now the episode number of the show is kind of lining up with the episode number of the podcast. So like 55, episode 5,
Yeah.
episode 55. That's gonna get all fucked up next week. But
All right. Redo it. Welcome to TME, episode 57. That should have been the first thing I mentioned. It's in the title somewhere. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, it should be. Or maybe this week, just to smite the listeners, I won't put the episode number in the
He's
description.
lying. His OCD is way too high to ever.
Yeah, you know me too well.
List a single episode
Yeah.
out of the format. No,
Yeah,
never.
No,
Even if I paid you, you couldn't do it.
well, I mean, yeah,
It depends how much.
I have a price for everything, you know. I always say I can be bought in almost any situation. I draw the line at murder.
Yeah.
I draw the line at
murder.
anything that will potentially land me in prison.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's
You
fair.
know what else is fair? I watched a pretty fucking hype trailer for The Matrix Resurrections today.
Speaking of, there's a price for everything.
And how many blue pills is that price?
Doesn't matter. They go down the drain.
They do go down the drain.
Anyone listening to this, like, you've seen the trailers for the fourth Matrix movie, Matrix Resurrections, and indeed, characters are resurrected for the movie.
Yep. Yeah,
Who died in the movies? Trinity. Neo died at the very end. Or did they?
But now Neo is back as John Wick.
As John Wick. And Carrie-Anne Moss is in it so that they can recreate that bar scene from When Harry Met Sally. What's your opinion?
Actually, the little bit in the trailer where they were like, do we know each other or something like that? It kind of reminded me of the end of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I dig that.
Yeah, because remember when they after they both like had each other erased from their
Mhm.
memories. They meet up at the end of the movie, and they seem like there's like a glimmer of familiarity between them,
Yeah.
proving that love trumps all.
Now, a lot of people were like, hey, this is trying to be like the first Matrix movie, and where they know something's weird with the world and they need to like wake up. Follow the white rabbit, Neo. And
Yeah.
people were complaining about that, but I actually
Oh,
think
really?
that's really smart, because Neo was like a flying like magic immortal being at the end of the third one.
He was doing a Superman thing.
He literally Superman, and he chose to lose at the end, to save mankind.
Yeah.
Humanity is a better word. So I'm glad that
We're all huge manatees.
we're all huge manatees, one way or another. I'm glad they went with the theme that, because everything was reset at the end, including the Oracle.
Yeah,
right?
the
That
Oracle was
little,
back, and
yeah.
I like to think that the Matrix, like what the machines did, was they just restored a previous backup of the world.
Well, it's constantly saving in the cloud.
Well, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And they were like, wow, Smith really fucked this shit up. Boop.
Yeah.
They needed Neo to hard boot it.
Well,
That's kind of what happened.
well, and like, didn't they establish in the previous? Didn't they establish in, what was it, the second one, that when he meets Colonel Sanders in the TV room at the end of the second one, the film establishes that he's like the seventh like reincarnation of the one or something.
So the one is an anomaly in the code that they can't get rid of, that is
Yeah.
an inevitability.
Yeah.
And the inevitability culminates in the one, and the one comes to meet the architect eventually.
Yeah.
And he explains to them, hey, you and like 8 women and like 4 dudes, you can go and restart Zion. We kill all the people. We do this every like 50 years or whatever. So he's like, gives him all this lore dump, which 13-year-old me couldn't like fathom, but me now I'm like, oh, all of this makes sense.
Yeah.
And I've watched those movies, and every time I watch them, I come away with different ideas. And the idea that Neo is just an anomaly that needs to be corrected in the system, versus he is actually the one, like he's different. He's not just special in the Matrix. He is actually Morpheus's prophesized the one.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you recall, he has odd connections to the machines in the real world.
Right, I remember that. Yeah, he was able to like stop the Sentinels.
He was able to stop the Sentinels, and not only that, when he was blinded, he was able to see like Agent Smith's aura, because they're both connected to like.
Well, yeah, I mean, like they're constantly like, I mean, all of them really, like they're constantly like plugging their brains into this like computer simulation. Like, it stands to reason that even when they leave, like some of that code would still be in their mind.
Well, that's an interesting way to think of it. Yeah.
That's kind of my takeaway. But
I like it.
One of the things that has me like really hyped was at the end, like the dude that he meets was the guy who played the king in Hamilton. He was the best part of that play.
Right.
I don't even like musicals, but Hamilton was great.
I need to watch it still. I've seen the trailers and stuff, and I'm like, you know what? This looks fucking great.
It is fucking great. Set aside an entire evening though, because I believe it's like 4 hours, because it's literally just a play that they recorded.
Yeah, yeah. The Broadway is usually like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope there's an intermission.
But yeah, I was a big 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 big
Big, 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 big.
all the American listeners are like, what the fuck is that supposed to be? Old Canadian lottery commercial. But yeah, I was a huge fan of The Matrix, like immediately upon seeing it.
You know who else was?
I was 14 when I saw that first movie. Then when the second one came out, I was 18. I went to see it on opening day, like the first showing on opening day.
Oh,
and,
nice.
Like the theater, I was living in a small town at the time, so it was like a shitty like small theater with like 2 screens that are like barely bigger than the TV that I own now.
Yeah.
But like the theater was packed even for this like 4 o'clock showing, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Really? There was that much hype for the first one?
For The Matrix Reloaded.
Oh, Reloaded.
Reloaded, yeah. I remember too, like everybody in the crowd like just started cheering as soon as that like green Warner Brothers logo came up.
Really?
Yeah, really.
It's
like,
because the first one was so fucking hype.
Yeah. And I love the second one. I bought the Animatrix when it came out I think it came out on DVD 2 weeks before The Matrix Reloaded came out. I bought it like the day that it came out. Watched the fuck out of it.
A lot of people don't realize how much the Animatrix actually connects with Reloaded and Revelations.
Back in February 2003, I went and saw the movie Dreamcatcher in theaters. It's a fucking
Revolutions. Oh, you saw Dreamcatcher?
I saw Dreamcatcher in theaters, and it's a bad movie. Like it sucks. But the reason why I
watched it.
The reason why I went to see it in theaters was because attached to it was the Final Flight of the Osiris short that was later included on the Animatrix.
Ooh.
So that played before Dreamcatcher. So I went to see Dreamcatcher just to see that.
Amazing.
So, and like I rented the like crappy like Enter the Matrix game on the original Xbox and played through it just so I could see all of those cutscenes or all of those like live action, because it was like a 35 minutes or so of like live action video that they shot using actors.
The game was bad, but I played through it.
The game was bad, but it was like the story was like canon and actually like tied into the Matrix Reloaded. It was really like, it was really interesting, like cross media stuff that
that had never been done. Like that is
not certainly not on that level.
Yeah, the Matrix Online cut into was canon too.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you had the Animatrix shorts, you had the main movies,
the Matrix comics. The Matrix comics are canon.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I that cross media like storytelling I think is really cool.
It is really cool. And the Matrix Resurrections is like allegedly is still going to like treat the Matrix Online as canon, which Morpheus died in that game.
Yeah,
so that's probably why Morpheus isn't in the new movie.
But I mean, Trinity and Neo died in the movie last. And I said Revelations earlier. Revolutions. They definitely died, but it makes you wonder.
I'm sure the next one. I'm sure one like the next Matrix movie after this will probably be called Revelations.
Right, because it is. There's a lot of, whether you like it or not, there's a lot of biblical symbolism.
Well, and it just fits. It fits with the naming convention.
It does, yeah.
the sequels, Reloaded.
Well, it's going to go the Matrix Resurrection, the Matrix Rebooted, and the Matrix Revelations. There we go.
the Matrix Resolutions.
Oh, Resolutions.
That could be the name of the last one. I'm sure this is a start of a new, especially if it does well, this is probably going to be the start of like a new like trilogy.
I'm down.
Me too.
Fuck it. I don't care. I'm down.
I'm down too.
I can't wait for the millions of people that flock to Twitter to tell me like how bad the Matrix Resurrections is. And I don't care, man. Like it. Oh, the problem with comparing franchise movies to others is that you're going in comparing them.
Judge it
It's
on its own.
valid, but at the same time,
It is, but like, it should also be a film should also still be judged on its own merits rather than like.
does it tell a complete story? Is it interesting?
And another big problem that people have with franchise movies nowadays, looking at you, Star Wars fans, is they build up anticipation so much for like the next movie that's coming out, and essentially like when the movie comes out and inevitably isn't the movie that they've spent the past like however many years writing in their own head, writing for themselves in their own head, when it's not that, they respond poorly to it. They're like, oh, this fucking sucks, just because it isn't exactly the movie that I wanted. It isn't exactly like what I wanted, you know, Star Wars episode 17 or whatever to be.
Well, you have the people of we shit about Star Wars all the time, but you have the people that complained that it was too similar to A New Hope. And then you have the people that complain, huh?
And then The Last Jedi comes out and completely like just turns everything on its head, and then people complain that it was too different.
It's not Star Warsy enough.
Yeah.
What people say they want and what they actually want is like factually untrue. Like time and time again, what people think they want is you know that episode of The Simpsons when like Homer gets to design a working class car?
No.
And he's got that.
I don't watch The Simpsons, so
he's got that rich half brother or something like that out there, and like he designs his own car, and it's like overpriced, and it's terrible. What they think is great versus like what actually makes a good movie is.
Yep.
Yeah. What's your favorite Matrix like theory? Either one you've seen online and that you don't have to agree with it, but your favorite one, if you have any.
Oh, I don't usually, especially at this point in my life, I don't really engage with that kind of online discussion.
Oh, I don't engage in online discussion. This just your own, maybe your own. Well, I'll talk about mine.
Okay.
So one of the big, and this is my most hated one, but it's worth thinking about. One of the popular ideas of why Neo has telekinetic powers and he can like communicate and shut down the Sentinels, and why he can see Agent Smith when they're in the real world, is because that's just like Zion, the dirty real world. That's another layer of the Matrix to appease the outsiders that pull away from reality and are looking for like the real world. So they give them this second layer of the Matrix where they get to be freedom fighters and fight the machines, right?
Okay.
And
so you're going Inception with it.
Yeah, and the reason Neo can shut down the Sentinels and see Agent Smith is because he is still in the Matrix. And because he's the one. And now, as much as I hate that, is it lines up with the new movie, because if Trinity and Neo died in that layer, then they weren't necessarily actually killed in reality.
But when you die in the Matrix, you die here.
That's what the people in that layer of the Matrix believe. Right? Because when you get unplugged, they die or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's just a theory, a
Well,
NeoCal theory.
Well, we'll find out in 3 months when the Matrix Resurrections comes out. I'm hyped.
When there were rumors that it was like happening, I was hyped. When it had confirmed that Lana Wachowski was taking the helm, I was like double hyped because I'm like, oh, well, it's gonna happen now.
Yeah.
And if anybody else other than the Wachowskis had even attempted it, I don't know. Like, how many times has Stephen King not liked one of his novel adaptations?
Many.
Yeah.
Although he got to write and direct one himself, only movie he's ever directed, and it's a movie that he himself frequently shits on. And that movie is Maximum Overdrive.
Right.
Which is a fucking stupid movie, but it's so fun. I love it. It's great, like 1980s, like low budget, like B movie schlock.
Amazing. I need to check that out one of these. Maybe it'll be a commentary.
I'm actually going to be covering it on my podcast that I do with my partner, Based On, where we talk about movies based on books and the books that they're based on.
Well, there we go.
That's going to be coming up sometime soon.
Sweet.
Sometime soon. Speaking of things that are hype, episode 56 of Too Much Energon, where we're talking about the 6th episode of Beast Machines.
Oh, we be.
Oh, we be. And some minor spoilers for for a little bit of a hint of what I might be rating this episode at the end. Gonna say, I think this is the best episode of the season thus far.
This is the best. This is the fucking best, man. I couldn't believe how much I liked this.
This is a like Beast Machines has been good, so like really good so far. We
wavered a little bit on the last one. We were like, is it too much Energon? Yeah.
It's just barely Too Much Energon. So far, we're 5 for 5 Too Much Energon ratings for Beast Machines, which is a pretty great track record. And I feel like episode 6, the weak component, might continue that trend, but keep on listening.
It's our favorite episode.
Yeah.
Let's just wait and see what we give it.
Yeah. No, it's our favorite episode. No Energon.
None. A deficit of Energon.
So this episode of Maximals running from Viacons opens with Maximals running from Viacons. Some Viacon jets are like shooting at Gary Primal, and some like tank drones show up, and
an earthquake happens.
Gary Primal like tries to transform, but he can't. The ground shakes, splits open, he falls to his doom. Rattrap grows like
giant
like Rita Repulsa was like, make my monster grow, and threw her staff.
And it accidentally hit Rattrap.
In
his robot form, curiously.
Yeah, in his robot form. But so wouldn't you know it, this is all just a big dream. Gary Primal is at the maximal base, still recovering, which I do appreciate the fact that he like is actually needing to rest up and repair manually, because they don't have access to CR chambers.
No, and it hasn't established whether in Beast Wars they did automatic internal repairs when they were in their beast mode.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's inherently obvious in this.
Well, and indeed, like they Gary Primal mentioned early on in this show that like there's no more like onboard computers or anything like that. They are just technorganic beings. So presumably they actually have to like rest, like actually like heal.
They have
like,
to heal.
They have to
probably faster than an actual animal, but
yeah,
they still need to sleep. which
Yeah.
is curious. Wait, quick question before we move on. They did have to sleep in Beast Wars.
They did, because remember they went
They went
they went
ape
wackadoo.
shit.
Yeah, they went ape shit, literally ape shit that one episode just because they couldn't sleep.
Because they had to stay up 24 hours.
Yeah.
We can't take shifts. The Predacons might attack. I'm like, these people would not survive in the hotel industry. No.
No.
Listeners, I worked graveyards for too many years at a hotel.
Too much.
11
Too
p.m.
much.
to 7 a.m.
Too much work.
Let's just say it was about a decade.
Yeah. So yeah, Black Arachnia comes in and like tells Gary Primal that basically that he just needs to keep resting, and orange. Cal, for the audio listeners, is holding up an orange can of Zevia.
I'm
Yes.
breaking tradition.
Oh, different flavor. It's not cream soda this time.
No.
I feel like I feel like that's more of an alphanumeric gag than a too much energon gag. So most people listening to the show are going to be like, what does Zevia have to do with anything?
Oh, am I always drinking it on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen the listener data. There isn't as much like crossover between these two shows as you might think.
They must have seen me drinking one or two. Maybe not. I don't know. What I should do is just pour it into a glass with ice and pretend I'm just drinking vodka.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we cut to the away team of Maximals, and
The Looney Tune beat Tankor. He just like goes off an edge and looks down and do and like crashes.
Yeah. So it's Rattrap, Night Scream, and Cheetor, and Rattrap's getting chased by what was it, Tankor? Or was it just a Viacon?
One
tank?
of the Viacon dudes, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know. I couldn't remember if it was Tankor or if it was just the listeners. I only just watched this episode like maybe 2 hours ago.
If you liked Guilty Spark in the previous episodes, he's got some more voice lines in this one, let me tell you.
So like the crux of this scene is basically that Rattrap still can't transform, and Night Scream and Cheetor are basically like, they tell him to stay out of the way because and let the actual transforming Transformers handle it. Everyone is so shitty to Rattrap in this episode.
Yeah. It falls under that Beast Wars, like, oh, people are really mean for no reason to this one character because this character needs to like find themselves. But at the end of the episode, everybody feels bad and then they pat them on the back.
Yeah. It is it's a trope.
Yeah.
Especially in children's TV.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Guilty Spark's talking to Megatron.
Yeah, so 343 Guilty Spark is talking to Megatron, and Megatron is like, Guilty Spark, yes. Help me get rid of this beast mode. Ho ho.
And Guilty Spark's like, are you sure, sir? You'll never be able to regrow it. And he's like, adults before me did it all the time when we were babies. Guilty Spark's like, this isn't circumcision, sir.
I'll have you know that I used a coupon code at adamandeve.com, and that coupon code was ENERGON. Yes.
Can you imagine?
Can you imagine if we actually got sponsored by adamandeve.com? That would be hilarious.
Fucking rad.
Adamandeve.com, if you're listening, reach out. We are willing to be a coupon code for your website.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
We will sell out for any amount. You got $50? Boom. You got it, man.
Yeah. I would even do it for 15. Just, honestly, just so I could put like actually be like, yes, I could put a link to adamandeve.com in the episode descriptions and be like, yes, use coupon code too much energon. That would be amazing.
The number 2 much energon.
Yeah, the number 2.
So what's the crux of the conversation between Megatron and Guilty Spark?
So the gist of it is Guilty Spark is like theoretically this like treatment that isn't really elaborated upon at all, but this treatment that can be used to completely remove Megatron's beast mode will probably work, but it's experimental, so Guilty Spark recommends that he run more tests, and Megatron is like, no.
Yeah, he's like, hey, sir, why don't you deal with the Maximals? And then when you've won, fuck around with this.
Yeah.
And Megatron's like, fuck you. This Guilty Spark has quite the personality for being a sparkless drone.
I know. And like that's what I've was commenting about before.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we cut back to Cheetor like using his scimitars and like fighting off the like thrust drones. And
Mother of God. It's that trope where he's surrounded in a circle.
Yeah.
And we've never seen this. I've been waiting. Like a Jedi, I wanted him to be able to deflect blasts back. We've never seen it. He has like no offensive capabilities. He just deflects attacks. But this time, he's actually deflecting attacks back and blowing up the motorbike Viacons.
Yeah.
That are surrounding him in a circle. So I'm like, okay, he's getting better.
So Night Scream does something that hasn't really like, it's kind of a new tactic as far as I know in terms of dealing with the Viacon drones. He takes out like the leader of them, I guess, and it's not Thrust, it's just another motorbike Viacon.
Well, I thought it was Thrust. It has his voice because because it says game over, kitty.
Okay, I'm wrong. So he takes out Thrust, and when by like converting into his like horrendously ugly robot form, and like
emo was in at the time, my dude.
And doing a like sonic blast from his mouth. Yeah, so
got him.
So he takes out Thrust, and when he does, like all of the motorbike Viacons drop dead. So now
I don't think we've seen that before.
No, we haven't. We've seen the Viacons go dead when Megatron loses control. But
Right.
I didn't realize that Megatron wasn't directly controlling the Viacons anymore.
I did. Do you remember the episode where he was stretched too thin and he got overloaded and all the drones across the planet?
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I made reference to that.
Yeah. That is why he made the generals, so that he didn't stretch out his like processing power across the planet trying to fight them all. And they're kind of like their own CPUs.
Well,
a bunch of them are connected to the generals, so he has less work.
Well, he made the Viacon generals at the suggestion of 343 Guilty Spark, because independent sparks, free will would be a much more efficient way to combat other individuals with free will.
I guess I just assumed that.
Yeah, it was never
spread out the processing power.
Yeah, it was never, as far as I'm aware, it was never explicitly stated that the Viacon generals are now the ones like directly controlling all of their troops. It makes sense.
You're right. It was never inherent, but they did. The jets all followed Jetstorm.
Yeah.
And the bikes all followed Thrust, right? So I had figured they had some network admin abilities.
I mean, it makes perfect sense. It's just
it's cool.
The show until now hasn't really like directly addressed it.
Yeah, it's being addressed as the Maximals learn about it.
Yeah.
And thus the viewer. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good way
and
to
we
go
get some
about it.
motion blur. We get some like comic book lines behind Cheetor.
Yeah.
And it's probably the most hype action shot in the entire show so far. But again, you can't describe these action shots without being like, and then Cheetor runs really fast and he like jumps really high. Like you've seen him jump high before, but not like this. And like he does like a triple sow cow and like you know how he can deflect? He like deflects them in the air, but he doesn't just deflect them. He like hits them back at the tanks and they blow up. Nobody likes that.
No, and we've gone over that like ad nauseum.
Cheetor does some Cheetor bullshit.
Cheetor does some Cheetor bullshit. And they him and Night Scream come up with the idea of like leading them, like basically Night Scream's gonna play possum and lead them over in front of this weird like energy shield thing.
Stargate?
I don't even know what it's supposed to be, but it's like it's like an electrical grid or something.
It should knock them out so all of their subordinates go offline.
Yeah, so Night Scream's playing possum in front of it, and like the general idea is that he's going to lead the Viacons over there, and then he's going to get out of the way, and Cheetor is going to Cheetor bullshit. He's going to flying Cheetor bullshit kick them into this like electrical grid.
In my head when I was watching this, I was like, but they know there's two of you. Why would they just forget that Cheetor's around? And that's what happens.
Well, and that's what happens. So
that's what happens.
But so Rattrap is like up in scaffolding or something.
He's in like a control
or in like
tower.
in like a control room type thing. And he sees Night Scream being cornered, and
he doesn't know the plan.
Yeah, he doesn't know the plan, and he is basically like, oh shit, I got to do something to help. And he's like, come on, just this once, I am transformed. And he actually transforms.
Bada bing, bada boom, I'm transformed. Look at me. Wish I could have some more heavy artillery.
So he like Tarzan's. Yeah, he does it. Finally. My boy Rattrap. He's finally got the transformation thing down.
Yeah, he George of the Jungle.
I was gonna say Tarzan swings.
He George of the Jungle like swings on a
jungle
cable.
Boys.
On a cable.
Yeah.
And he kind of fucks up Cheetor and
Night Scream.
And indeed, like the Three Stooges, their plan goes wrong.
Yeah.
Rattrap slams into Jetstorm and Tankor and
does he
them off the bridge.
Or does he
I can't do that from beginning to end because I was just coughing. There you go.
I mentioned Jungle Boy a couple of minutes ago. Jungle Boy, the wrestler in AEW, he's actually using that as his entrance music now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And what happens here? So because they just moved, Cheetor's running at full speed. I guess he was going to kick them into the Stargate.
Yeah.
And now that Rattrap kicked them out of the way, he just like tackles the air and falls into like the energy field himself.
Yeah.
Now, I had thought that would be very dangerous, right? They
Yeah.
were going to kick the Viacons into it.
And
nothing happens when Cheetor hits it.
no, he kind of just gets electrocuted, but then all of a sudden they like, because they're in a factory here. It's like a Viacon drone factory.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden production like ramps up for
That
some
confused
reason.
me.
Maybe,
I was like, why does him hitting this energy field make production increase?
maybe it drained energy from Cheetor and put it into the circuitry, the machinery that was making the
So
Viacons.
for a few seconds, it goes in like overclock mode.
Yeah, it got juiced
And-
up. But originally, like Cheetor's plan was to like flying like super kick the Viacon generals into this thing. So the same thing would have happened anyway.
Yeah. So why is this Cheetor's or Rattrap's fault?
Yeah,
The same thing would have happened.
yeah.
But here's the weird thing. They're all fucky because they're being made too fast. And they all
Yeah.
malfunction and start shooting the facility.
Yeah.
But after watching the episode and rewatching it with you now, they came here to blow the facility up
Yeah.
so that there'd be less drones.
Yeah.
So why are they mad at Rattrap when they did exactly what they were supposed to do?
It didn't like they didn't go about it in quite the same way, but like the end results, like
And Cheetor's fine.
yeah.
Like literally fine. Completely.
The
Whatever.
Rattrap wheels on over to a control panel, and I like that his tail when he's in robot mode is basically like an R2D2 thing.
Oh, he can like hack into
He
Yeah,
can or like RoboCop with his like fist spike.
right, yeah.
Yeah, he just
Yeah,
plugs it in.
He can
Jack in, man.
hardcore jack in. He can jack into the system, the Matrix. And that's a little Matrixy inspired. With like those big spikes in the back of the head. But that's a hacking thing in general.
I think it's more R2D2, honestly. Because like R2D2 has that like little like thing that sticks out of him that like plugs into computers and like on
Maybe
like
it's just a
the Death
sci-fi
Star.
thing.
It's a sci-fi
think
thing.
it's
I
more
feel
an
like
Avatar thing.
I feel
their
like
tails when they fuck each other by plugging their tails.
I feel like Star Wars did it first. And like, I'm not usually one to like pray. I was just shit talking Star Wars earlier, but I feel like it's a thing that Star Wars did first.
No, I'm giving nothing to Star Wars. No. So
Well,
what's
and
happening
indeed,
here?
Rattrap is kind of R2D2 like.
Yeah,
He's got wheels. Yeah.
So
Yeah, so Rattrap
only-
is like interfaced with the computer, and Megatron's like running into problems on his end too.
yeah, so there's this really cool shot of all the fiber optics that are connected across Cybertron.
Yeah.
These big ass things light up, these huge coils of wires, and go across the surface and go back to Megatron in like a weird feedback loop,
Yeah.
like an error. And indeed, it blows his ass up. Like he's literally blown up. And on the control panel side, Rattrap's like electrocuted too. So they kind of interfaced briefly.
Yeah, they got like overloaded when a couple of Viacon jets like shot
The control panel.
the control panel
Yeah.
that Rattrap is plugged into. Yeah, there's an explosion, and Megatron. It's bad news bears for Megatron, and like all the power like goes out on Cybertron. It's holy shit. It's not good, man. It's not good.
Well, not good for Megatron.
It's not good for Megatron.
So when the Maximals are retreating back to the base after their mission and they're going through the sewers, Rattrap's like, hey, like guys, did you see? I transformed. And he wants to reveal, he's like, hey, I was only able to transform when I was trying to like protect you guys.
Yeah.
But any wind is completely taken out of his sails because like they don't care that he transformed. They
Yeah.
just immediately just fucking shit on him.
Yeah.
Completely. They're like, oh yeah, the one time you transform and you pull that stunt, we had it under control and then you got involved. And it's like, you guys, fuck you.
Yeah.
I understand it's a trope and it's like this forced conflict, but fuck off, dudes.
Yeah, it's like Rattrap's like,
it's like when one popular kid's nice to you when it's just you and him, but as soon as two popular kids are like together, they like both rip on you so that they can both be jerks.
I've
Because
been
you
in
can't be seen
relationships
being
like
nice
that.
to the losers in high school.
I've been in relationships like that.
Oh geez. Poor Rattrap.
Yeah. So yeah, Rattrap is like, man, don't you guys even want to know like why I was able to transform? It's because like I wasn't thinking about myself. I was thinking about saving you. And like they just don't give a shit.
Like, who cares? Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fucking nerd. And then they push him over and walk away.
And
It was kind of an interesting scene where Rattrap is talking to Primal.
Yeah.
Like, even though Primal's passed out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's the gist of that one? He's kind of like, oh, like you told me that I need to clear my mind and this and blah blah blah. And I just have to say I am transformed. But this is what I get. And he's kind of like dissatisfied with his robot form, much like we were when we first saw him.
I've only ever watched through this show once, and it was back in like 2008. So my memory is a little suspect on the matter. But from what I recall, there's a subplot going forward involving Rattrap that's kind of an allegory for essentially someone becoming paraplegic.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm going by memory, so like I could be wrong, but
that would be interesting.
From what I remember, it's one of the more interesting subplots in this show.
Well, on Twitter, I still see people. I try to avoid spoilers because anyone listening haven't seen this before. But I'm not too worried about it. Like, who cares? It's gonna happen, right?
Right.
And yeah, a lot of people are like, hey, like shout out to Rattrap, who like proves that you don't need weapons to be one of the more effective like Maximals. And I'm like, hey, yeah, you're right. He doesn't have any weapons.
Yeah. Well, and even his robot form, he's essentially like permanently in a wheelchair.
I got that
robot form.
Yeah, I got that vibe too. When he transforms, when he's talking to Primal, the others walk in and chastise him, and he's like, "But look, guys, I can transform." And Cheetor actually shouts at him. He's like, "Go back to beast mode now. That's an order." And I'm like, Cheetor,
yeah. They're all freaking out, basically being like, "You fucking idiot! Megatron can track us."
Like, indeed, Cheetor even attacks Rattrap and knocks him over.
Yeah, Cheetor is really taking this whole Cheetor in charge. Like it's really going to his head.
I like him in charge. I don't like him mean.
Yeah.
And something happens when we've never seen before. When Cheetor tackles Rattrap, he falls backwards, and that helmet thing he has slides forward like a VR helmet thing.
Obviously, this show predates it by like 15 years, but it reminds me of the helmet in the 2014 RoboCop remake. He has this like glass like face shield that like comes down,
so you can still see. Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, it's an airsoft face shield. And he gets some like security footage, crystal ball footage, if you will, of a close-up of Megatron like being short-circuited and like essentially wounded. Something about his power diminishing under 75%. And
Yeah.
Rattrap transforms back into beast mode, and he's like, "Hey guys, I just
Like
got a glimpse of Megatron. He's super weak. Like we can go finish
yeah,
him.
let's go fuck him up. Let's
Right
go
now,
right
let's
now.
go."
And
And they're like, "Haven't you done enough, bitch? What?
yeah, and
Get
they're
out of
basically
here."
they're basically like, no, we have to stay here and guard Optimus at all costs. We're not going anywhere. Fuck you. Get out of here.
And I'm like, "But you just went on a mission.
Yeah.
What do you mean guard him at all costs?"
Well, they left Black Arachnia with him, presumably.
Okay, so leave one person behind.
I
and
know.
leave the others.
I know. They
Yeah.
could just do the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
thing.
Anyways, we
Well, and
enter,
indeed later on in the episode, like they just leave Optimus anyway.
yeah, they do that anyway.
Spoilers for the end of the episode, but like they show up to confront Rattrap has this like transmitter thing, and they like show up to confront Megatron, and so that like they just fuck off on Optimus anyway.
Yeah, they're not telling him that because it's sound advice. They're telling him that just to shit on him.
Yeah,
I feel. And indeed, Rattrap spies on the other three conscious Maximals, Black Arachnia, Night, Scream, and Cheetor, and they're just shit talking him.
Yeah,
in like the bathroom, in the high school bathroom. And they're like, "Oh my god,
can we just fucking get rid of this guy?" Like, I think the Night Scream basically even suggests like just ditching Rattrap.
They're all talking shit about him." Yeah,
That doesn't sound very maximal to me.
no,
Because it's
it
not.
don't. And indeed, we cut back to the weird floating void that is Megatron's domain.
His auditorium. Yeah, and 343 Guilty Spark gives him a status update. Like, drones.
He's like, "You're fucked up."
Yeah, you're fucked up. The drones are all offline. Like, power's down. Dogs
Your
and
generals
cats
are in the
living
CR
together.
chambers.
Oh yeah. He mentions that.
Yeah, and you see them up in like CR chambers that are suspended from the ceiling.
Because
And
that's a design aesthetic that Megatron really likes.
Things a pit
Suspended from
beneath
the
him
ceiling.
and things floating above.
Yeah.
And indeed, Guilty Spark's like, to fully recover will require 2 solar cycles. And I'm like, "Oh, we got solar cycles now."
Half a solar cycle.
Oh, does it say half a solar cycle?
Yeah. So half a day.
That's what I thought at the time when I was watching. I was like, "Oh no, that makes sense."
Yeah.
Right. But my first thought, I was like, a solar cycle, a year? It's gonna take half a year.
But no, like I think in I think in this context, like a solar cycle is a day, so half a day. And it seems like it's
an entire Saturday afternoon, if you will.
And it seems like it's the middle of the night because it's like all dark out.
Yeah.
And at the end of the episode, it's dawn. So basically, like, it's gonna take Megatron all night to recover.
Mhm.
And so Rattrap shows up out of nowhere. And I like Megatron's reaction here. He's like, so this is how the world ends, is it?
Yeah, he's like, "This is how the world ends, does it? Not with a bang, but with a
simpering whimper or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Rattrap is like
simpering rodent."
So Rattrap transforms and is basically like, "I'm here to make a deal. I got this robot form, doesn't have weapons." And Megatron's like, "All right, well, what's in it for me?" And Rattrap's like, "Well, in exchange for some weapons, I'll keep you safe," basically. Megatron's like, "Well, what's to stop me from just ripping your spark out right now?"
Yeah, he's like, "What's stopping me from just ripping your spark out right now?" And he's all like, "Don't make me call my buddies. They'll come and get you." And he's like, "No, I think not. You wouldn't be here unless this was your last resort." And so they kind of go back and forth, like to establish terms. And Rattrap's like terms are like shot down. And they end up settling on, how about this? I give you some sweet ass digs and you defend me for the night. If nothing happens, whatever. But if Maximals attack, you have to defend me. And then in the morning, I will just let you go and you can keep it. Regardless,
but spend a night trying to see things from my perspective, and perhaps you will become a Viacon by morning. Yes.
Regardless of your decision, you can keep the hardware.
Yeah.
Rattrap's like, deal.
Yep. He agrees to it. I really like the I really like the dark silhouettes with like the red background.
Yeah, yes. I was going to say I really want to talk about the directing here.
Yeah,
I really dig that.
It's quite well done. So the artillery that Rattrap gets is basically his own little like mini Metal Gear.
It's a little mech. I dig it. Yeah. It's a little war mech.
I'm going with a Metal Gear.
Well, of course you would.
It's a miniaturized Metal Gear.
Yeah.
And Metal Gear was actually a pretty hype game around this time. This is shortly after Metal Gear Solid came out.
Oh.
Yeah, this is like a year after MGS1 came out. And they're not afraid to be topical with their references. I'm not saying it necessarily is a Metal Gear reference, but this thing is very Metal Gear looking.
But what he is saying is he really wants it to be a Metal Gear reference.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's got vibes. Yeah.
Yeah.
The very chonk legs and arms. Yeah. And indeed, he flies it around and like blows up one of the floating panels. And Rattrap's like points the mech at Megatron, and he's like, "Word of advice: never trust a rat."
Yeah, the Maximals show up and they're like, oh, okay, so we're here to rescue Rattrap from you, Mega Breath. And he's like, your friend is here voluntarily. Yes, there's nothing to rescue, and he's going to protect me. Oh,
Interesting that Rattrap's code of honor, because he could have just wasted Megsy.
yeah. And I guess in this is just the ethical hill that that Rattrap's gonna die on.
Yeah. He could have just killed Megatron and ended Beast Machines once and for all.
And yeah, there's a back and forth. I really like the like what is it, profile shot of
Yes, the
Rattrap.
silhouettes.
Yeah, it's
Of
a profile
their
shot.
sides.
Yeah, it's a profile shot of Rattrap, like dark silhouette, very red background. It's really
Around
cool looking.
1530.
Yeah,
I like that so much.
I'm gonna make that. I'm gonna make that the
dark.
I'm gonna make that the show art for the episode.
We dig on the show for being dark. It's like, I can't see shit. A bunch of industrial buildings, whatever. But in this case, this is really well done. Oh
Yeah.
man, I like that. Oh, sharp.
Yeah, looks great. And so Night Scream notices that that Megatron is actually like fucked up, because Megatron's like kind of like holding himself up.
Yeah, he's like kind of leaning in pain, like lurched over his console.
Yeah. And Night Scream's like, hey, Megatron is actually fucked up. Let's get him. And Rattrap's like, yeah, not gonna let you do that. There's a back and forth between them where they're like,
traitor.
yeah. Which it's Black Arachnia who calls him a traitor, which I find, I'm like, really, coming from the ex-Predacon?
Yeah. And I'm like, okay.
It's like in Beast Wars when Dinobot would like shit on was like shitting on Rattrap, also Rattrap, for allegedly being a traitor.
Yeah. And it's like, hey, come on now. Dinobot switched sides at least 3 times.
At least 3 times. Yeah.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah. And yeah, so there's a back and forth between Megatron and Rattrap and the Maximals, where Rattrap's basically being like, well, I gotta defend him, so just leave. Like,
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And they don't. They're like, why? So you can hang out with your buddy Megatron. And the other Maximals, they're handling that really fucking stupid and bad.
yeah.
Like, why are you antagonizing your buddy who feels alienated from you already?
Yeah.
Like, maybe don't.
Yeah, like maybe
be his buddy.
Maybe be like, hey man, we're sorry that us being dicks to you like kind of pushed you to this point.
Yeah. But instead they double down on being dicks.
Yeah. Because that's how you diffuse a tense situation.
Oh yeah, how you diffuse a tense situation when you're like kind of like, in the playground, you're like pushing each other, whatever. You go, what is that? It? What are you, a bitch? Yeah, that simmers the fight down.
So Rattrap, like I said, they had this back and forth, and Rattrap basically is like, oh, you guys never believed in me, none of you ever believed in me, like yada yada. And then something that, I shit you not, actually made me like choke up a little bit when I was watching this earlier.
Yeah.
We hear the voice of Gary Primal say, I always believed in you.
He steps out of the shadows.
Yeah.
But before we see that, you're right. When he's like, none of you ever believed in me. You all, indeed, Megatron has like these propaganda windows nearby. And he's like, worse than hating you, they pitied you. Yes. But now you're more powerful than them. And I did that.
Yeah.
But it's really powerful when you hear Gary Primal's like voice from the shadows being like, well, I believed in you.
Yeah. Like I said, it choked me up a bit.
Me
earlier.
Me too. I was like, oh, fuck, man. Like, this is deep.
The voice acting, like the voice acting in Beast Wars was great, but I think the voice acting is actually like, and it's mostly the same actors too, but like, I feel like their performances in this show are a step up.
Say what you want about Beast Machines versus Beast Wars. I think they are entirely different ballparks.
Different animals.
Different animals. So
different beasts.
Different beasts. But yes, without question, even the first episode, we were like, whoa, like they're giving way more depth here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is another episode where I'm like, oh shit. The range that they're given for these characters, maybe it's the way they're written, maybe they were allowed to put more emotion into it, but I totally agree. 100.
Like I like the voice performances that David Kay as Megatron, Scott McNeil as Rattrap, and Gary Chalk as Optimus Primal. They're giving very emotion. Like, I'm buying the emotion in this scene just based on their performances.
Between those three, yes, it's good. It's really good, and believable. Like, this is a show about robots that are also animals.
Yeah,
and like this is a really pivotal moment. Like, this is heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And their voice acting, it knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, it's
deep. Like, what does Gary Primal say? He's like, Rattrap, you don't need any of this. You're stronger than you think. Because
Megatron like shows up and starts like telling Rattrap that Optimus is the one that he should be mad at, because Optimus like
lied to him.
He deceived him. He made you weak. And Optimus is like, well, you don't need Megatron's weapons, Rattrap. You're stronger. You're
stronger than you know. You're stronger than any of you know. And he kind of gestures to the rest of the Maximals.
Wait, which I appreciate. Like Optimus, it's actually being addressed in the show how fucking shitty the other Maximals have been. Like, it's being acknowledged.
Yes, it's without being condescending, it's shaming them for not believing in their teammate.
Yeah.
And they need Primal being the one to address that kind of fixes the problems I had with the episode of them being jerks.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and he's a good leader who believes like punishing people doesn't I don't even know what I'm talking about. It's good. It's good. And they feel bad. They all kind of like look down and like close their eyes and feel shame. And I'm like, you should.
You should indeed.
You should feel bad. How dare you be mean to Rattrap?
So Megatron is like to Rattrap, he's like, well, what are you waiting for? Finish them. Cheers. And Rattrap is like, well, what happened to not attacking what happened to the policy of not attacking a defenseless opponent?
He's
and
like,
Megatron's
that was never mine.
that was never my policy.
No.
It was his. Yes.
That's the good guy thing.
And so yeah, so basically from here, Rattrap decides that no, he's not gonna stay with Megatron. He's not gonna finish the Maximals off, and dawn happens, and Rattrap points out to Megatron that the deal was that all he had to do was keep him alive for half a solar cycle.
Yep.
And he's like, that's what I did.
It's done now.
So he's like, so are you gonna hold up your end of the bargain? You gonna let me walk away?
And an addendum to that, and he says, also the rest of the Maximals with me.
Yeah.
And the Viacon generals come out of the darkness.
Yeah.
So we're in this tense moment where it's like, well, why is he just going to let them all walk away? But
he does.
There's this tense moment and the music cuts and his voice is very echoey. I love the voice effects in the show too.
Yeah,
and he says,
his voice is very modulated in this scene.
And he's like, I stand by my word. And I'm like, damn. This fucking episode, man.
Yeah. And they leave, and 343 Guilty Spark is like, really, dude, you're just gonna let them go?
Yeah.
And he's like, yes, there will be plenty more opportunities to claim their sparks.
Yeah, and he says something about Rattrap played a good hand.
Oh yeah. He makes a comment about how he would he bargained with like machine-like proficiency or something like that. He would make a good Viacon, a better Viacon than he knows, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. He played the better hand. And man, I never thought I would see in Beast Wars and Beast Machines like this mutual respect particularly between Rattrap and Megatron.
Yeah.
I really like that. Like, this is a better episode than a lot of movies are even good. Like, damn.
Yeah.
This is a really good standalone episode. If you just caught this on TV and no other Beast Machines, this would impress me.
Yeah, I'd be hooked. And indeed, I'm hooked now. This is we'll get into the ratings. We might as well get into the ratings.
Yeah, the Maximals walk off, and then there's another silhouette shot as the sunrise hits, and they just walk away in their beast modes.
Yeah. So and that's the episode. Let's get into the ratings. Why don't you tell the listeners about our rating system?
We have 3 points on our rating system. It goes from not enough energon, a sufficient amount of energon, to too much energon. It's basically like bad, okay, good.
Yeah.
In that region. Shall I go first, or shall you?
I shall go first.
Yes, let's get the siege report.
I'm giving this episode a very high too much energy, probably the highest too much energon rating I can give. This is the best episode of Beast Machines thus far, hands down. And if I was doing a top 10 of Beast Wars and Beast Machines episodes together, which who knows, maybe we'll do on this podcast one day, this would be in the top 10. I think if you're even taking like both shows together, this is
I can confidently say that.
This is one of the best episodes in this entire franchise.
I agree. Was pleasantly surprised.
And like there are little like plot details we can nitpick, and we did. Like we found some like little plot holes like here and there throughout the episode, but like just as a whole, like this is there's fantastic character development for Rattrap in this episode, and even for Megatron, which is not what I was expecting when he was basically just space Hitler for the first few episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, too much energon.
Yeah, I'm just gonna mirror like everything you said. Like I was kind of shocked at how good this all was. So it also gets a too much energon rating for me, but probably without needing to think very hard, it's my favorite episode of Beast Machines. Again, like we can nitpick the trope of them all being mean and the combat scenes and all that stuff, but like name one goddamn episode of Transformers that has no error, that has no problems in it.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist.
Real quick, I just wanted to point out that I looked up the director of this episode because he actually has a Wikipedia page. His name is Andrew Curry. He's from Victoria.
Hey, he's from the city we live in.
Yeah, he's from Victoria, British Columbia.
Rad.
Yeah.
Shout out to that guy.
The last thing he directed was a comedy in 2015 called The Steps. He's not a big time director or anything like that, but he's directed like a half dozen movies over the years.
Oh, good, dude.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
And it looks like this was some of his early work.
Okay, cool.
So now it makes,
man. We dig it.
Yeah, like I guess it makes sense why this episode actually had some like very stylistic shots in it.
Because an actual director,
yeah,
movie or soon to be movie director,
yeah,
directed it.
Yeah,
damn.
Yeah, that has been the 6th episode of Beast Machines, the week component. Best way to support the show: patreon.com/lasercomb, LAZORCOMB. Starting at the $5 tier, you get hours each week of bonus preamble audio of us kind of just shooting the shit, like talking about like kind of behind the curtain, like production stuff, yada yada. $10 and up, you get our monthly Too Much Galavar spinoff of this show, where we talk about the 2021 IDW ongoing Beast Wars comic book, one issue at a time. You also get our weekly news program, Laser Comb Tonight. And there's a $25 tier, which gets you a t-shirt. It gets you our monthly Too Much commentary track. It also gives you the ability to pick a show that we will talk about a random episode of on our brand new podcast, the Laser Comb Podcast. So go and check that out.
Yeah, the Laser Comb Podcast, where we have covered Dark Oracle of all things.
Yeah, a
And
show neither of us had ever heard
Patreon.
of. And it was our $25 patron who pitched that to us, and
I loved that.
It ended up being really good. So
I loved that.
So if you want us to talk about just about any show you want, go to patreon.com and subscribe. Patreon.com/lasercomb and subscribe at the $25 tier. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/toomuchenergon or facebook.com/lasercomb. Follow the show on Twitter at toomuchenergon, or you can follow me at lasercomb, LAZORCOMB, and you can follow Cal at neo_Cal with a K.
That is correct.
Finally,
after all these years, my username is relevant.
We will be back next week with a very special episode of Too Much Energon. We're taking a week off from talking about Beast Machines, because next week the date of recording will be September 16th of 2021, which is 25 years to the day of the original air date of the first episode of Beast Wars. So we have a big supersized episode of the podcast planned. We're going to be for the first time ever recording it in the same room.
Live in studio. It's Too Much Energon.
We're going to have a couple guests on the show. We're going to be like counting down our top 10 favorite episodes of Beast Wars. We have some other segments planned, and there's also something very special that we recorded recently. And I'm still not going to reveal what it is, but it's something really cool and something I never in a million years thought I would actually get to do.
It's
a bucket list type stuff.
It's something I never thought I would ever get to do.
Yeah.
Or that we were popular enough to do. But the Christopher Siege provideth. So, and you know what? I will save my Siege gushing for the 25th anniversary, but good job. Thanks for doing this with me. Thanks for producing all this. It's been really fucking fun.
Oh, and thanks for doing it all with me. And we've still got plenty more in store. So we're only taking 1 week off of Beast Machines for this special episode of the podcast.
It's gonna be hype.
It's going to be really, really cool. I've got lots of cool stuff lined up, and some more things TBA. We'll be jumping back into Beast Machines in 2 weeks from now with the 7th episode of season 1, Revelations Part 1, Discovery.
Beast Machines Revelations.
Yeah.
Did you know that they watched The Matrix?
It's funny that we've been joking about that for the past like 6 weeks, that we've been reviewing Beast Machines, and like it's kind of coming full circle to us like spending like 20 minutes talking about The Matrix at the beginning of this podcast. Well,
Indeed. Earlier in the episode, I said Revelations instead of Revolutions.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that about does it for episode 56 of Too Much Energon. I've been one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
And as usual, I am NeoCal.
And until next week, I am transformed.
I am really transformed.
Beast Machine.